Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here today, and welcome to the launch of the Optus Innovation Hub here in 11 York Street. So before I kick off today's event, I wanted to acknowledge a few special guests in the room, three gentlemen sitting in front of us today. So representing the New South Wales Premier, the Honourable Gladys Berejiklian, I'd like to welcome the Honourable Matt Kean, MP, Minister for Innovation and Better Regulation and Member for Hornsby. Joining Minister Kean today is Matthew Ball, the Vice President of Small to Medium Business at Optus. And John Shi-Nash, who is the Director of Entrepreneurship and Incubation at Macquarie University. So a healthy small business sector is a prerequisite for a growing economy and for high job and employment opportunities. What we found is that while a lot of the startups in this building here today are on the cutting edge of technology, only 30% of small businesses actively invest in product innovation. The announcement today demonstrates the commitment that Optus and the New South Wales Government have in supporting small to medium businesses. What this space and what this announcement enables is a strong partnership that together we can collaborate, co-create and work with our customers, the 2,500 startups located in this building, some of our corporate neighbours and academia to enable a prosperous economy. Now, some of you today may recognise Minister Kean from some of the various announcements and projects that he's made over the past couple of years. Minister Kean is a huge promoter of technology and how it empowers the small business economy. He's demonstrated a commitment to supporting small business. And actually, Minister Kean, when I read through some of your notes, I actually found in your 2011 inaugural address to the Legislative Assembly, you recognise that the important role the government plays in eliminating monopolies from destroying small businesses and promoting a healthy and entrepreneurial spirit. In fact, Minister Kean's insightful comment was that those who start small work so hard and aim so high in his businesses. So on that note, I'd like to welcome Minister Kean forward to address us on this important collaboration between Optus and the New South Wales Government.
Well, Cheryl, thank you so much for that introduction. You can come and introduce me at any event that I go to. That was outstanding. And I'm delighted to be here at Optus, one of the most innovative businesses in the land. So thank you so much for allowing me to be here. It was the great lion Winston Churchill that said that empires of the future will be empires of the mind. We never imagined there would be companies in the world bigger than the GDP of nations. Human ingenuity is driving more change than ever before. And what are the cultural factors driving that innovation? It's cultures that are curious, inquisitive, and all about problem solving. Cultures that are non-hierarchical, that are open and cross-pollinate, that break down artificial walls that keep groups like government, the private sector, and researchers apart, that support risk-taking. They are cultures with a skilled workforce, and not just skilled in the science of what they do, but in the people side as well, because most innovation is the result of collaboration. And the byproducts of these inquisitive cultures are environments that give people freedom, accept people for who they are, and give them incentives to succeed. These cultures embrace the words of the great explorer Sir Francis Drake, to dare more boldly and to venture on wilder seas. We call all of this today disruption, but the truth is, it's the new normal. And this new normal is more productive, more efficient, and it lifts everyone. In this new era, we've worked out that the role of government is not to prescribe, but it's to help with these settings. It's to encourage connectivity. If you get the settings and connectivity right, then innovation will thrive and flourish. It's what we've done right here in this building. This startup hub, it's all about connectivity. It's about creating an ecosystem in Australia's largest city for innovation, jobs, and growth. I often say that this building feels like a campus. You can feel the energy when you walk in the room, and that's not just Sally. Where's Sally? It's a campus because there's a willingness to question and an openness to collaborate. And I often walk past the rooms with their whiteboards and flowcharts, and I think, what problems are these people solving? There hasn't been a change in thinking in the private sector in recent years. There hasn't just been a change in the thinking of the private sector in recent years. There's also been a change in government's thinking. Government now sees the private sector as natural collaborators to solve problems. And a good example of that is the Transport for New South Wales Digital Accelerator. The accelerator brings together government, the private sector, and researchers, and seeks to find solutions to problems that we haven't solved yet. We want innovators to pitch solutions to government. At the moment, the current accelerator's challenge is mobility as a service. It's asking, are there improved travel options that suit individual needs and circumstances, and not just on our main transport routes? Our innovation launch program is about trying the same approach across some of our most pressing social problems. Last year, we used the program to look for ways to make our cities more accessible for our people living with a disability, and to identify ways of reducing domestic violence reoffending. In both areas, we're trialling initiatives that came out of this program. We want to find solutions to things, circumstances that we take as a given. To give an example, in the US, they're trialling CCTV cameras that identify when a shot is fired, when a street light is broken, or someone has collapsed after being hit by a car. And then, first responders are automatically sent to the incident, saving minutes, saving lives. We want to change the ecosystem right here in New South Wales as well, when it comes to innovation, when it comes to collaboration. We know that innovation is not something that's a one-off. With innovation, you can't ever be satisfied because competitiveness is an ever-receding finish line. And we know that right here in New South Wales. New South Wales has a great story. It's not a startup, it's a turnaround. 7 years ago, right here in this state, we were consistently last when it came to any economic indicator. We had deficits and debt, paper tickets on our buses and trains, and there was hardly a bulldozer or crane in the sky. Now we're consistently first. We've got 350 cranes above the city skyline, up 65% in the last 2 years. We're running surpluses, and we have no net debt. We have more frontline services with over 15,000 teachers, nurses, midwives, paramedics, police and firefighters. And we're investing more in hospitals and schools and have an $80 billion infrastructure program. We're growing faster right here in New South Wales than 27 OECD nations and account for half of Australia's overall economic growth. But we can't be complacent. That's why we recently appointed a New South Wales Productivity Commissioner, because removing unnecessary regulatory burdens is not an irregular activity, but an ongoing one. And we want our regulations to be fit for purpose. Our regulatory sandboxes are about ensuring that we don't repeat what happened with Uber ever again. Uber transformed our taxiing industry, but for a fair while, it was operating in New South Wales illegally. It was criminal. What utter nonsense. I want our regulatory regimes in New South Wales to be ahead of the change rather than lag it. And here today, we celebrate Optus's commitment to support a great innovation ecosystem here at the Sydney Startup Hub. You know, there's a tendency in some ASX-listed companies to lend their name to causes, to buy tables at charity dinners, and to support social change. And that's all well and good. But the real change is when big companies use their skills and expertise and leverages its expertise. And Optus SMG is doing exactly that. Optus is a great innovator. Through its Yes Lab and its work in cybersecurity, Optus has grasped the nettle of innovation. Your presence here with the Optus Innovation Lab will lift this whole hub. And it's a reminder that the work of this hub really is serious business. The great thing about hubs like this is that ideas spread. Change becomes infectious. And not only will small and medium businesses benefit from learning from Optus, but Optus will stay relevant to small and medium businesses. Now, normally at events like this, ministers swan in, say a few words, and then swan out. But I want you to know, in the words of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. I want to be here when you have an event celebrating a partnership between Optus and an SMB. I want to be here when you seal a deal that takes an idea national and even international. In time, this Sydney Startup Hub is going to be known as a great Australian success story. And the presence of the Optus Innovation Lab will undoubtedly be an integral part of that. Can I thank you so much for your investment in this hub? Can I thank you so much for your investment in our innovation ecosystem here in Sydney, here in New South Wales? It will be part of driving the change to see this state and this country continue to play on the world stage when it comes to innovation and new technology. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Minister Kean. Innovation has been a really important part of Optus's agenda. In 2016, Matthew Ball, our Vice President of Small to Medium Business, joined our company to bring focus to the customer. And after all, that's really what innovation is about. Now, small business is close to home for Matt. His wife owns 2 small businesses herself, so I think it's fair to say that he lives and breathes some of the challenges faced by the business community today. On that note, I'd like to welcome Matthew Ball to come forward and talk about why this strategic partnership why this partnership was a strategic imperative for Optus. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Cheryl Pearl. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my absolute pleasure on behalf of Optus to welcome you to the Optus Innovation Hub. I can't tell you how delighted we are with this presence. In speaking with Minister Matt Kean just earlier, he asked me a question, how did you come to be here? Tell me about your journey, about how you came to be here. And I'm going to give you the slightly longer answer that I gave to Matt just now. So, in starting out, when I first joined Optus in 2016, I remember my job interview with my boss, Alan Liu, our CEO, and I was a little bit question mark as to whether I wanted to join Optus. I'd spent 10 years in the industry and spent 10 years out. And in that conversation, he said, what reservations do you have about joining Optus? I said, you know what? I'm just not sure I want to go back to putting a phone on a plan for a price. My thirst for innovation is far stronger than that. He said, great, that's exactly why we need you here. So since joining, we have spent an enormous amount of time talking to customers. It's amazing what you learn about customers' needs by actually talking to them and asking the question. Small business is hard. Small business is not easy. Small business is not a part-time job. Small business is a lifetime journey that's 24/7 that requires physical, emotional, financial investment above and beyond what's considered normal, above and beyond what's considered fair. It is challenging. In our thirst for seeking the challenges of small businesses and talking to them, we ask them, what help do you need? What right do we have to play with you as a small business partner? And the themes that came back were around help me with my business, help me improve my business, help me find new customers, help me start my small business, help me grow my small business, help me turn around my small business if it's in challenge. Connect me with other small businesses because I'd like to learn from peers. For those of you who are in small business, it can be quite lonely. Small business can be quite lonely, and it's a challenging and confronting conversation to say to a fellow small business peer, I'm having a really hard time in small business and I'm not quite sure what to do. No one really wants to have that conversation. So in seeking these questions, we developed a platform called Yes Business, which is an online portal on our Optus website. And we, as much as we provided, the objective of that was to provide small businesses with information. information about how they can improve their business, how they can improve their efficiencies in their team, and how they can have life balance. And we sought through that to provide information from both industry experts and also education experts or academic experts. So that team and that community is now a 32,000 strong community online. And as much as we helped share information with small businesses, we learned a lot about them as well. We learned that they like to know information as it comes up to date. We learned the sort of articles they like to read around better business, better team, better life. And we learned that having a physical space and having somewhere that they can engage with one another is as important as an online space. So the genesis of us being here was how do we extend, grow, and further that community? And that community's intention is a noble one. It's not about buying a phone on a plan and connecting to Optus. It's about a true higher purpose of improvement to small business. There are a significant number of Optus employees who are in this building today. I would very much like to thank my team for the amazing work that they have done to bring this to fruition. I'd like to offer them a round of applause. I don't mind telling you I was in here on a Friday. I was in here on Friday to do a quick tour in advance of today's launch. And let me tell you, on Friday, this space looked very different. So the people that transformed it over the weekend did an amazing job of that, and I'm very grateful for that. So what do we expect from this innovation hub? This is not about us slapping a logo on saying we're here. This is about, and I certainly echo the sentiment of Minister Kean, connectivity, mobility, and community. That is what this is about. Far too often corporates think they have the answer. Big businesses aren't transforming the way of the world. Small businesses are transforming the world. Disruption doesn't come in the form of big business anymore. Disruption comes in the form of small business. We seek through this partnership and this presence and residency in the Optus Innovation Hub to transform the Optus small business proposition. We want our customers to help develop the products of the future for small business. We want our customers to tell us how can we improve. The connectivity in this very lab is significant. We have opened up our what's called network APIs, which basically plugs you into the main line of the Optus network. For small businesses to be able to develop, for small businesses to be able to develop code, develop applications, develop digital solutions for small business customers. There are a plethora of planned events, hackathons, mentorships and partnerships that we hope to bring to bear out of this. There are significant amounts of intellectual horsepower in and around this business, in and around this building. And our partnership and our presence here today is a long-term one, is one that we expect to bear significant fruit for small businesses and for other small businesses. Being a customer-centric organisation as Optus is, what better way to develop products and solutions than to have our customers developing those solutions? So, we will use this. We will have workshops on relevant topics. We will help small businesses when they seek information. We will offer partnerships with Optus. We will encourage and foster innovation. We will encourage and foster disruption. We will completely reorient the propositions that we bring to market based on the needs of small businesses. And we've been doing that for some time. The Optus small business proposition to customers is significantly different than it was 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. From cloud-based technology to disruption of the way and the construct that small businesses work and the way and the construct that technology operates within those small businesses, it's significant. Additionally, we will launch in July our first challenge with Macquarie University. We like to bring education institution into this as well. Our challenge will be, how can we support small to medium businesses to grow digitally? We spoke about, Minister Kean spoke about Uber just now. Uber is a fantastic beachhead of digital disruption. And the disruption in our industry isn't just about Telstra, Optus and Vodafone trying to disrupt each other. The disruption in our industry is a global, significant and digitally led disruption where all bets are off from an industry challenge standpoint and all bets are on from what's possible around digital disruption. I'd like to thank Minister Kean for joining us today. I'd like to thank Macquarie University for joining us today and being part of this. This is significant investment for us. We expect huge amounts of success out of this investment, out of this partnership with the small business community. And I look forward to seeing Minister Kean back here for our first signing of a significant partnership, of our first proposition that we will take to market for our small business customers. On that note, I'll hand you back to Cheryl Bell.
Thank you, Matt. So Optus and Macquarie University have a long-standing partnership. We share in their vision to create globally recognised education programs that support entrepreneurs in innovating and implementing solutions that address some of the world's problems. So our next guest speaker is John Shi-Nash, who is the Director of Entrepreneurship and Incubation at Macquarie University.
Hi, good morning. I'd like to start off by thanking Matt and the team and the Minister for inviting us this morning. I think the space here is absolutely amazing, and we should be justifiably proud of the conversion here and creating a real hub where people can come together and innovate. It's something special, and it's something which I know is going to be successful. So fantastically well done. But it's not just about space, it's about people and programming and the stuff that goes on in here. And that's kind of what's going to be really exciting. Joining up entrepreneurs with a large corporate like Optus, who have fantastic channels and fantastic ability to match the problems that SMEs have with real solutions that entrepreneurs and small businesses can actually generate themselves. So really I wanted to talk a little bit about innovation and entrepreneurship and why as a university we're interested in that. Well, the future's going to be different to what it was previously. Previously people went to unis, they learned, say, accounting or a profession. After that went into a job that lasted a lifetime. That isn't going to happen in the future. Big shock. What is going to happen is with the rise of AI, machines, people are going to have careers which are more fragmented. Perhaps we have to have several jobs, perhaps we have to sell ourselves, perhaps we have to innovate ourselves as individuals. And that's why we think that the skills in entrepreneurship and innovation are critically applicable across everybody. So that's why we are interested in those areas. But then, what about students, millennials, young people? We hear a lot about them. What can they actually bring to the table? Well, what they can bring is a new way of looking at things. Vibrancy, energy, and that translates to solutions. They look at things differently. One of the things that was really interesting to me when I started at Macquarie, having previously worked in Singapore, was the difference in the way that the millennials here and our students and the base actually, what they class as success. They want to have impact, they want to change things, and they want to change the future for the better. So that's actually a critical stream that we can tap into. In terms of what Optus is doing here, I think it's absolutely amazing. One of the things that small businesses need are support structures. They need help in innovating the future. And one of the things that entrepreneurs and startups need is not funding. Everyone thinks that startups need funding. That's only a small bit. What they really need is customers. But before that, what they really need is great problems to work on and come up with solutions for. And by partnering with an organisation such as Optus that has the ability to understand problems at a much greater level, and also has the channels to provide solutions to small businesses in the market, is invaluable to a startup. It's absolutely critical. So I think the authenticity in the message that we heard from Optus is fantastic in providing those channels and providing those problems for startups to solve and work on. So that has to be applauded. It's going to make a huge difference. But also what Optus provides is really, it's a wealth of talent. It's a huge business, has some amazing abilities and people within the business that can really help startups to be successful, whether that's through technology development, whether that's through channels, whether that's through understanding the problems and understanding markets. And that's something that's, again, is critically important, especially to startups in Australia. We need to look internationally, and that's where a company like Optus that has global reach can really help. So I think, there are some key things there which startups will get through working with Optus or working within this hub that will actually change the world. So for us, we absolutely welcome the opportunity to be part of this. And we're happy to do what we can to support Optus in this venture, and wish the team every success. Thank you.
Thank you, John. So on behalf of Optus, I'd like to thank our two guest speakers for joining us today, Minister Matt Kean and John Shi-Nash. We recognise that innovation is a key metric of growth for any economy, and it's also a key metric of a prospering job opportunity market. Before I close today's event, I wanted to welcome our three guest speakers onto stage and open up the floor to any Q&A.
From Computer World. We haven't heard a lot about how the innovation meeting is actually going to work. I mean, who's going to be in it, what the goal is going to be.
I'm to repeat that. Stuart Connor from Computer World. We haven't heard a lot as to exactly who's going to be in the Innovation Hub, what they're going to do and what the goal is going to be. You talked about getting access to network APIs from Optus. I think that's really interesting. Maybe you could elaborate on that a bit.
Sure. So in terms of who will come here and who we expect will be using the hub and what we're expecting that would look like, is part of being in the Sydney Startup Hub in this building overall gives us the ability to invite and request and invite other either residents or inhabitants of the Startup Hub to come into this space and do some work, so do some collaboration. You'll see down the back there's several different booths or computers with cameras allowing us to do real-time focus groups. So if we get customers that come in and small businesses that come in and have an idea, we certainly will create some space and opportunity for them to come in here and articulate what that is and how that might work either with Optus or with their customers. If they'd like to do some testing, fantastic. If they need customer insights, we will certainly share some behavioural insights with them from our customer bases. The intention would also be, through the year we'll have a series of these challenges. I mentioned the first one about how we can, how small businesses can transform from a digital perspective. We will have various different hackathons and challenges as well that would also serve as invitations to join here.
Hi Matt, it's Patrick from Comsday. Any linkage between the hub here today and Singtel Innovate?
Great question. So Innovate was actually part of our original journey into being into this hub. So Innovate is currently co-sponsoring one of the incubators downstairs. Which one is it?
Today,
Tankstream Labs. Okay. Yeah, so there's a couple of innovators downstairs. So Tankstream Labs, Fishburners that Innovate have a partnership with. We would certainly welcome them to bring additional small businesses into this environment for further collaboration.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Hi, Alex Zaharov-Reutt from IT Wire and CommsWire. Just wanted to know whether you're going to do any kind of internal startup accelerator like CA Technologies. They actively encourage internal staff to, with all the resources of the parent company, to do startups, and only a small number get through, but it's a great way to further foster internal innovation. I'm just wondering if you're doing that, and is that connected to this Innovate stuff happening in Singapore?
That's a fantastic question, actually. I would say the answer to that is, as it evolves, I think we'll have further clarity on that. What I mean by that is our intention is certainly to open this up to Optus, the 8,000 employees that work at Optus, for them to be able to bring challenges into this space. I would say whilst we don't have a clear stewardship or program in place to then sponsor them into a small business of their own, I would suspect that would be the sort of thing that would evolve out of it. Interestingly for us, this is a blank sheet of paper. We haven't done something like this before. I think the opportunities that exist, something like that, are going to be the sort of things that we receive out of being part of the Innovation Hub. It is as much as us growing and being a startup in an Innovation Hub as it is for the startups that are here.
Thank you.
Jackie Dent from Whistler. I was just wondering, what's your criteria for businesses that can become involved with the hub, and do they need to be Optus business customers?
They do not need to be Optus customers to be part of the hub at all. We certainly welcome customers from any and all of our telco providers. The challenges, as you would picture from the first one being how do we digitally transform for small businesses, has no specific relevance to any network provider in of its own right. So any and all customers are welcome. In terms of criteria, we would certainly invite people both from within the existing hub to come up here. There's the downstairs in the innovation, the Sydney Startup Hub. I've forgotten the name of the foyer area, but there's a constant stream of people coming into that environment, and we would certainly welcome them to come up here and do some collaboration work with us.
Mobile phones and mobile phone plans are ubiquitous these days, but you've got your Optus Loop technology. Are you getting the companies involved in this to take that up so they've got business-oriented comms?
We're certainly not suggesting that customers need to use any of our products. Optus Loop is a key flagship product for small business. Our intention is to build out the software stack that is Optus Loop, to have a significant amount of digital capability and also within that some disruption for small businesses. So we would welcome that as a product to be worked on, but we don't mandate that people use it.
Sure, but obviously you're letting them know it exists.
Of course, indeed. Yeah.
And I wrote some questions down, but doing a one-on-one interview later, but I may as well ask you now. I'll ask you again later. But you talked about really listening to customers and going through all their journeys. But what's the number one great idea that a customer has brought you that you've gone over the last couple of years that you've said, great, we're going to do that, and then you've done it?
Look, I don't think that there's a silver bullet of what challenge have we taken from a single customer. I think that the common theme is around, and interestingly that John mentioned it, help me find customers. And usually the starting point is, I've got an idea, I've got a challenge, or I've got something in my mind that I'd like to bring to bear. Help me find and connect with customers. So that was also part of the genesis of us bringing on Yes Business, the portal that I previously mentioned.
You mentioned some mentoring events. In the future. Do you have any founders or entrepreneurs signed up to be those mentors?
We don't as yet, but we're certainly open to that. Are you keen to? No. Excuse me. Certainly open to that. And I think that in that learning curve that I mentioned of us, this is a learning curve for Optus as well. In terms of that mentorship, within the Optus employee base of 8,000 employees, there's some incredibly talented, incredibly seasoned individuals that we would offer up as mentoring. But there's also a significant amount of customers that we have. So we have some very, very successful small business customers that are Optus customers who we would also invite to come into this environment, because a lot of them face the same challenges. As they've gone through the startup to scale up, to turn around, to transformation, they too have a lot of the same challenges around, it might not be finding customers, it's finding different customers in a different vertical or for a different product. So that in speaking to our customers about this space, they have a lot of interest in being part of it as well. And we would certainly welcome, and we also have within our customer base quite a fair few digitally native small business customers. So for them to be able to partner with us on our network APIs and be able to partner with other small businesses in their early stages of growth, represents a fantastic opportunity.
Just for all of the speakers on stage, given the widespread use of YouTube and everyone's got a 4K phone in their pocket, are you going to put together some sort of mini documentaries of some of the great examples out of this program and some of the mentoring sessions to share with the public and future small business people?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. We would certainly do that, and we would certainly, it is our job as part of this Startup Hub to not just partner with them, but also make our small businesses that are working with us here the heroes. They're the champions out of it. If we have the ability to help those small businesses by showing their journey and documenting it leveraging our resource from a media perspective, as Optus is a media organisation, then if we can do that, we should absolutely be doing that.
James Reardon from Optus. A question for Minister Kean. I think it's fair to say you've done a fabulous job, you and your team, investing in the Sydney Startup Hub, and we thank you for that. Do you think your thirst for innovation is shared by your colleagues around Australia? Because I'm still reading that a lot of time great innovative thought require sort of investment that sometimes go overseas. So I'm just curious to know, obviously Optus operates throughout the country. I'm just wondering whether the thirst for innovation is shared by your colleagues in the other states.
Well, James, thanks for the question. I mean, innovation is not just a buzzword here in New South Wales. It is our state's business plan. And if we don't get it right, we will be left behind and will be a rust bucket state. So that's why we are investing heavily in our innovation ecosystem. And the Sydney Startup Hub is just part of that overall strategy. We've got other things in the pipeline around precincts, around jobs for New South Wales, innovation concierge, and changing our regulatory environment. Because we understand what's at stake here. You know, things are pretty good in New South Wales, as I've said, but we need to work out how to continue to grow our prosperity and continue to create jobs, particularly in an environment where technology is disrupting and displacing whole industries. Now, one of the great frustrations I have is the fragmented approach to innovation right across the Commonwealth. So in New South Wales, you have 3 or 4 ministers with different pieces of the innovation agenda. You multiply that by the 8 states and territories and then overlay that with the Commonwealth. Is it any wonder that we're all not rowing in the same direction? So we need serious reform at the federal level if we're going to get this right and compete with the likes of Israel and the US when it comes to driving our innovation agenda. And as I said at the beginning, there is too much at stake to get this wrong. We need a national commitment to innovation, otherwise we'll be left behind.
Can I just add to that? One of the things that Mr. Kean just mentioned around the national footprint, something that I was very impressed with in my first tour of the Startup Hub, because it is an innovation, not just because it's an innovation, but it is also part of the Optus agenda, is around regional expansion and supporting regional small businesses. For those of you that have had the opportunity to do a tour of the hub, have a look at the resource available downstairs for regional customers. It's significant. They get access to they get access to a significant amount of resource and space for them to be able to come from out of town, from regional New South Wales, and be able to be part of the metropolitan innovation of New South Wales.
So I hear Minister Kean's on a tight schedule, so I may just wrap up today's event. So again, thank you so much for joining us here today to celebrate this. And we talked a lot about the amount of effort that got us to get to this point today, but there is a lot more to come. The real work begins tomorrow when we move in and when we start to bring in customers and some of our corporate partners into this space. So again, thank you all for being here, and we look forward to seeing you all soon and celebrating the launch of our customer first proposition.